Welcome back to Know Ourselves on the Value and Limits of Self-Knowledge. We are now embarking on part 2 of this course, in which our focus will be first of the unconscious as well as stories of the emotions. Today I want to focus primarily on Sigmund Freud and their psychoanalytic theory that he helped to develop it and popularize, with by no means an attempt to give a comprehensive discussion of psychoanalysis. It was a huge, hugely influential moment for much of the first century, but I want today just to focus on some of what I take to be the core aspects or Sigmund Freud's own development of that theory, hoping that some of the points that we make will be able to shed light on much larger themes what are of interest to us in this course. So Sigmund Freud is a psychologist who was trained as a psychological scientist, primarily as a biologist. He did a lot of work on the neurobiology of fishes in the early part of his career, and the reading that I want to have associated with our discussion today is a book of his called Introductory Lectures on Psychoanalysis. What was the record of a series of lectures that he gave in at the University of Vienna. When you read Freud, part of what I think you'll find interesting is that he has his own version of the Socratic method. Of course, when you are writing, it's very difficult to engage in a pure Socratic dialogue because, of course, you've got to. It's not clear how you called energy you interlocutor your educations by asking them question, but Freud comes interestingly close and makes a provocative methodology in their process, and that is you often find him making statements, making hypotheses, offering explanations of phenomena, stating his position. But when you see him say things like this, I can hear an objection arising from you now. Not because he's literally claiming to hear somebody making an objection, but rather he's imagining an interclaria raising a worry about his point of view. He's imagining someone resting that he's saying in a certain way, and when will come back and respond to that with his own counter argument. With a good method from argumentative writing and argumentative speaking for the reason that not only does it give you a chance to state your position and your reason for it, it also allows you to allay some of the skepticism, some of the doubts that an audience may have. If you are able to do that successfully, to bring them over to your side that much more freely. So it's an aspect for Freud's methodology that is interesting and in think fairly successful, but there are epistemic peculiarities of Freud refers to as psychoanalysis, and one of them is that, as he says, objective of verification for that theory. When asked how one knows where that theory is true, his answer is, well, when learned psychoanalysis on oneself by studying one's own personality. As most experimental psychologists today will tell you, as neuroscientists today will tell you, that probably is not a very good methodology because it doesn't involve random sampling, it doesn't involve controlled trials. It's to easily to come up with subjective answers to questions that are prefixed affected by your explanations and to how the questions should be answered. So this is not a methodology that world pass master according to contemporary theorizing. Furthermore, even on phrase even terms, I want to suggest that with it, what statement of his does not quite fairly respect his way of justifying his story, and the reason is as follows. It seems to me in the background of some of his theorizing we'll see precisely how that works in a moment. In the background of some of his theorizing there is principle which is itself perfectly objective and allows theorizing to be put up to scrutiny and anybody can assess. And that is what psychologists of science have referred to as the principle of inference to the best explanation. Inference to best explanation says the following: when you are confronted with a pleasant phenomena or range of phenomena, adopt that hypothesis. Is there is one what best explains it. With nothing on inference of the best explanations can do with some unpacking in. I'll try to explain that a little bit now. First of all, I know it's not always clear that counts as best, but the best explanation sometimes explanations seem appealing but were not the best because, for example, were actually complicated or perhaps because they don't cohere fully with other things we already have established. Likewise, there might not be any explanation of a range of phenomena that goes above certain threshold, remaining our lives of that delicate oracle, said to Socrates, friend Charpian. We may notice that behind the best explanation might be because all the other explanations are terrible and with one that you have is modestly okay. What midnight for not make it explicably we might need to have that explanation be above a certain threshold, as whose qualification in mind we can still say that part of that phrase methodology seems to presuppose is that when you've got something puzzling some aspect of human behavior, for example, that puzzling, you should look for the explanation that most directly, simply, effectively, completely accounts for it, and we'll be asking ourselves whether the theories that Fred gives are consciously of that sort. If so, maybe he's justifying his position in a effective way.